Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 7th Annual State of the Port of Los Angeles. I'm Michelle Grubbs, Vice President of the Pacific Merchant Shipping Association. Due to the recent surge in COVID-19 cases, we are once again unable to hold this event in person. However, we are pleased to be here with you virtually, and we welcome our viewers from near and far. This annual event would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. Their generosity allows us to donate all proceeds to two organizations that provide valuable services to our community: the International Seafarer Center of Southern California and EXP. The Seafarer Center provides much-needed assistance, vaccinations, and care for the thousands of international crew members that work on board the ships that call at our port complex 365 days a year. EXP facilitates mentoring, internships, and career guidance to more than 6,300 students at 10 high schools in the greater LA region. EXP plays an instrumental role in exposing young people to the wide range of jobs and career opportunities within our Southern California port ecosystem. Over the years, thanks to our generous sponsors, this event has raised more than $150,000 for these two important local nonprofit organizations. This year, we are pleased to welcome Princess Cruises as our platinum sponsor. Princess Cruises is a pioneer in the cruise industry and has been a partner in our port community here in Los Angeles since 1965. And now a word from Jan Schwartz, Group President, serving Princess Cruises, Holland America Line, Seabourn, and P&O Australia.
Thank you to everyone attending today for your partnership and support of our brands and our industry. As Los Angeles' hometown cruise line, Princess Cruises has the longest tenure of all cruise brands sailing here. We are extremely proud of our role in both the history of this port, but also in local Hollywood history, as the backdrop for the hit TV show, The Love Boat. Los Angeles is also the home to the largest percentage of our guests. So Princess truly is the preferred hometown cruise choice for guests going to destinations like Hawaii, the California coast, Alaska, as well as the Mexican Riviera. We're grateful to all of you. From our friends with the port, especially Executive Director Gene Seroka, the City of Los Angeles, LA County, local labor from the ILWU, Customs and Border Protection, the U.S. Coast Guard, the harbor pilots who work with us, and the Department of Health, among so many, many others, for all of your assistance through our pause, getting us back into service, and partnering with us each and every day. Our brands will be visiting Los Angeles 97 times across 13 ships this year. Because we're operating vaccinated cruises, the onboard experience will be something that our guests know and expect. And we've been working closely with all of you, as well as the CDC and other global health experts, to operate in ways that protect our guests, our team, and this community. In addition to the economic impact of our visits, when our ships call at Los Angeles, they use shore power. We purchase electricity from the city's power company to minimize our environmental footprint. This is extremely important to us as we endeavor to be good stewards of the earth. As always, our highest priorities are compliance, environmental protection, and the health, safety, and well-being of our guests, crew, and the communities we visit. As a critically important home port for us, we are both engaged and connected with the Port of Los Angeles and the greater community. It's our home. Our commitment to the community continues to flourish. Giving back is a part of our corporate culture, and in 2022, we hope to reinvigorate our local partnerships on many levels. Again, we appreciate your support and all the agencies you represent. We're excited to be back and to be delivering amazing, healthy guest experiences, as well as economic value to Los Angeles once more. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. And a special thanks to Nagin Kamali and the entire Princess team here in LA for your planning and support of this year's event that was originally to be hosted on board your ship. And now, I would like to introduce Gavin Newsom, the 40th Governor of California. In this year of extreme supply chain challenges, Governor Newsom and his team have been highly supportive of our California ports. And just last week, his office introduced its 2022-23 state budget, which includes substantial funding for our ports and future supply chain workforce. Governor Newsom, welcome.
Well, thank you, Michelle, and thanks to everybody here. We couldn't have gotten through, still work to do, but we couldn't have gotten through the most challenging parts of this pandemic without each and every one of you. And for the rest of the world, you may know this, but we can't say it enough. California is the gateway to our nation's economy. We not only have the busiest ports in the country, in Southern California alone, we handle 40% of the nation's imports. But ports, are not just about imports. They're also about being on the leading and cutting edge of workforce development and environmental stewardship. And that's why I'm really proud that this year we're building on some of that trailblazing work by investing an additional $2.3 billion state investment alone. Investment in our ports and supply chain to get goods more efficiently to where they need to go. I want to congratulate incredible work done at the Port of Los Angeles for all of those that navigated an incredibly challenging environment to keep those supply chains moving. And also, thank you for your ongoing work, your commitment to working with our administration to make these historic and much needed investments, including, by the way, a new workforce training center in San Pedro Bay, the first training campus in the U.S. dedicated to the goods movement industry. Together, we're going to ensure our ports continue to lead the world and serve as a preferred gateway for goods movement here in California and across the nation.
Thank you, Governor Newsom, for your support of our port industry here in San Pedro Bay and across the state. Now I'm pleased to introduce Eric Garcetti, Mayor of the City of Los Angeles. Mayor Garcetti has worked closely with Gene Seroka and his team at the port on a wide range of business and environmental initiatives. At the start of this pandemic, he gave Gene Seroka the additional role of Chief Logistics Officer for the City of Los Angeles and supported a small team at the port and city in the launch of Logistics Victory LA, also known as Love LA. To date, Love LA has distributed more than 10.5 million pieces of personal protective equipment to more than 240 organizations in the greater LA region, including hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, colleges, and businesses. Mayor Garcetti, welcome to our virtual State of the Port of Los Angeles.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 State of the Port. First, let me say that the state of the Port of Los Angeles is strong, in spite of the fact that national and global supply chains have been strained by cargo surges brought on by the pandemic. And that strength has everything to do with Executive Director Gene Seroka and the entire team at the Port of LA, our Port Commission, our marine terminal operators and longshore workers, ocean carriers and railroads, our trucking community, and of course, the cargo owners we serve. We could not have gotten through this challenging time without everyone pulling together. America's port is also fortunate to have federal support from the Supply Chain Disruption Task Force that President Biden created nearly a year ago, including John Picari, our special envoy, to the $17 billion for the nation's ports and waterways that were included in the bipartisan infrastructure law. Not only that, California's ports stand to benefit from a record investment of $2.3 billion in the proposed state budget. I'm so grateful to President Biden and Governor Newsom for their responsiveness and recognition to the leadership that we needed in our ports to weather this storm and to build for the future. And I know that our supply chain community will continue to rise to meet the moment. We've learned and grown so much over this last year. And knowing we need a stronger focus on the health, the safety, and training of the people who keep the port running, we are proposing a new goods movement workforce training center, a bold vision for our nation and our port. And seeing the progress we've made on supply chain digitization through the Port Optimizer, it's become clear that we need to continue to leverage big data, non-proprietary data, while respecting data that's proprietary and establishing strong safeguards against its weaponization. Finally, in light of the record cargo we've seen over the past 18 months, we need to double down on our work to address the environmental and public health impacts of the freight system. We're taking important steps forward, like becoming the first port to create a dedicated source of funding to transition heavy-duty trucks to zero emissions. And thank you to our Board of Harbor Commissioners and port staff for getting this done. But we can't let up. If we're going to achieve the zero emissions goals of our Clean Air Action Plan, we have a lot more to do. There's no question in my mind whether our port industry here in Southern California can achieve what we set out to do, because I've witnessed it. I've seen what we are capable of. So thank you, congratulations. This will be my last State of the Port as your mayor. But as an Angelino, as a representative of our nation abroad, I look forward to being a friend of the port for the rest of my life and congratulate you on being amazing partners in this past year to make us strong here in LA.
Thank you, Mayor Garcetti. And finally, I'm pleased to introduce Los Angeles City Council member for the 15th District, Joe Buscaino, whose constituents include the Los Angeles Harbor residents of Wilmington, San Pedro, and Harbor City. Councilmember Buscaino has been a part of this event every year, and we are grateful for his strong advocacy of our port, LA waterfront commercial development, and all the men and women working in the Harbor District. Please welcome Councilmember Joe Buscaino.
As we enter into our third year of the COVID-19 pandemic, I want to extend my thanks and congratulations to our longshore workforce, truck drivers, terminal operators, ocean carriers, railroads, warehouse, and drayage industry stakeholders for processing record volumes of cargo over these past 18 months. They are the reason why the Port of Los Angeles is America's port. If ever there was a time that demonstrated how our port industry can succeed by working together, that time is now. And our supply chain stakeholders are processing record levels of cargo while leading the national discussion about meeting market demands and exploring long-term solutions to improve our supply chain. Looking forward, I'm confident that our local and global port communities can build on the lessons learned during this global health crisis. In 2022 and beyond, the Port of Los Angeles industry stakeholders will play a substantial role in the evolution of our global maritime industry. And that's exactly where we must be as part of the City of Los Angeles' mission to be a model for sustainable economic growth. Like other cities that are developing smart ports of the future, let's recognize that some of the biggest impacts of seaborne trade are felt in port-adjacent communities. In our case, the neighboring Port of Los Angeles community of Wilmington, which has experienced increased risks from air emissions, truck traffic, and other port industry detriments that have had adverse effects on quality of life in the community. Los Angeles and other smart port cities must do everything possible to continue mitigating their adverse effects on neighboring communities. We must continue to develop solutions that improve the local community's quality of life by creating jobs, aggressively improving supply chain efficiency, and ensuring that harbor neighborhoods are protected from the physical and environmental impacts of goods movement. Major global ports like Los Angeles and Long Beach provide a wealth of benefits to their nations, but their burdens are felt locally. I'm committed to seeing our port grow, and that means aggressively developing strategies that mitigate port industry impacts. 2022 will be a year for taking stock in what we've accomplished during this crisis and what we must do to protect and enrich communities like Wilmington as we continue to grow for the benefit of our regional, state, and national economies.
Thank you, Council Member, for your comments and your strong leadership in Los Angeles. It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Jean Seroka, the Executive Director of the Port of Los Angeles, the largest container port in North America. In May of 2014, Jean was appointed by Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti. Under Jean's leadership, the port has experienced historic, record-breaking cargo growth. All of us in the industry appreciate Jean's leadership and tireless effort in advocating for a more efficient, secure, sustainable, and data-driven supply chain. During this pandemic, and especially over the past year, he has championed efforts to educate our elected leaders, industry stakeholders, and the worldwide media about the challenges facing the global supply chain and the improvements needed to strengthen trade across America, especially here in our nation's largest port complex. Please welcome Executive Director of the Port of Los Angeles, Jean Seroka.
Thank you, Michelle, and hello, everyone. Last year, as we streamed our State of the Port from the deck of the battleship Iowa, we were in the midst of our own battle, our battle against COVID-19. This was our moment to stand up to challenges. When we did, we discovered our fundamental strength. We're at our best when we work together. And in 2021, we did just that. We worked to improve our supply chain, to improve our community, and to improve our environment. This year, we're coming to you from the backland of the Everport Terminal Services Facility, our longest standing terminal partner. We're grateful to Eric Wong, George Lang, Ron Neal, and their team for accommodating us. I want to thank John, Michelle, and Jessica from the PMSA for coordinating the details and sponsorships for this annual event. In addition, a big thank you to our communications team and all the divisions at the port who had a hand in this production. Special thanks to this year's platinum sponsor, Princess Cruises. Princess first set sail from our waterfront 57 years ago, and our partnership with them continues to grow. Thank you, Jan Swartz, Nagin Kamali, and the entire Princess team for your support. When we can all come together again in person for this event, I hope we can gather on one of your beautiful ships. In times like these, it's crucial to be led by those who have been with us all the way. For their unwavering support, I want to thank Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti, Council Member Joe Buscaino and his colleagues around the Horseshoe, and our Board of Harbor Commissioners, led by President Jamie Lee, Vice President Ed Renwick, and the Commissioners Anthony Perozzi, Diane Middleton, and Lucia Moreno-Linares. I'm also grateful to the 855 members of our Harbor Department organization who are the bedrock of this 115-year-old institution. They are the reason the San Pedro Bay is the largest trade gateway in the Western Hemisphere and the only one outside of China in the world's top 10 largest ports. 2021 was a landmark year at the Port of Los Angeles. Records were broken. So it's fitting that we take a moment to appreciate everyone who contributed to that success. Our Los Angeles Marine Terminal operators, the ocean carriers, our ILWU longshore workforce, and all of our other supply chain stakeholders. Thank you all for your extraordinary performance. The records you set were not easy or without pain. But bars are meant to be raised and goals are set to be passed. As we head into another year of challenge and uncertainty, we have an opportunity as leaders and industry influencers to do more than break records. This is our chance to create lasting change. We talk about our role within the supply chain, and we have a crucial one. But more than that, we have a purpose greater than cargo. We are woven into the fabric of our society, our Southern California society, our American society, our global society. The payoffs we provide should be measured in more than revenue and GDP growth. We need payoffs for our people and our planet as well. We need to create a more just and fair community. We need to cultivate and support a more sustainable environment. In this time of disruption, we must rise to meet this moment and deliver on our purpose. In 2021, we learned how much cargo we could move through our port under extraordinary circumstances. For the calendar year, I'm pleased to announce that the Port of Los Angeles processed about 10.7 million 20-foot equivalent units. That's about 13% more than in 2018, our previous record year. But that's not the whole picture, because during our fiscal year, which ended this past June 30th, we processed even more cargo. More than 10.8 million container units from July of 2020 to June of 2021, and another 5 million from July until the end of the year. That's 18 consecutive months of record cargo volume, including last May, the first month we ever surpassed 1 million TEUs. End to end, those containers would stretch nearly 3 times around the world. Decades of development provided the berth space, backland, and rail infrastructure to process more cargo than ever before. But in 2021, our marine terminal operators, terminal management, and longshore workforce gave us the ability to move that cargo from the ships to rail cars or out the gates on trucks. Since the start of the pandemic, our longshore workforce has been on the job in the port complex every single day. And let me tell you, those are long days of hard and demanding work. They are at the heart of the progress we make, the strongest links in our supply chain, and the true heroes of our story. Let's take a moment to acknowledge their service.
When the pandemic hit, a lot of workforces were able to transition into remote working from home, and that was something that our workforce didn't have the luxury to do.
It's really changed how we think, how we operate, how we work in terms of protecting each other and ourselves.
Yeah, since there's no blueprint, the biggest thing that as a leader would have to do is to communicate.
The whole part of individuals coming to Hall is not just getting jobs, it's also getting information. So how do we get information to individuals?
To have to shift and figure out ways to continue to conduct business.
We went phone dispatch, we used text blast, email blast.
And the impact it had on us at work and also at home. I mean, it's all over us now.
We were afraid every day, I can tell you, who was going to be next.
No one knew if there was going to be a cure or how to combat the virus.
There was just so much change going on, and one of the changes we had to adjust to was to give time to clean the equipment.
Our mechanics were the ones who stepped up, and they had to clean those vehicles before every shift.
They had to continue to show up every day to the job, and there was no ability to try to stay safe by staying home.
We're over 60% infected here, exposure and infection rate, and we continue to work. They continue to do the job, and I think that really makes you feel proud of the men and women of our union.
The most challenging time during the pandemic was between December 2nd of 2020 and February 15th of 2021. A total of 54 days where we lost 11 members.
It hit each and every one of the presidents here at the local level deeply. When members, people you know, that friends that passed away.
And each one of those members will not be forgotten. God bless their families.
It's what tragedy brings strength sometimes. It pulls people together.
I will tell you, as a result of this pandemic, it has put our union a lot closer. In fact, it's actually brought our employer a lot closer to us as well.
I think everybody appreciated the fact that both ports and the employers were taking this serious and putting in measures to keep our members safe when they went to work.
Because it became to the point where people start worrying about saving lives. And you can see the humility in everybody to help.
I've never seen anything like this in the history of the ILWU where the volumes are like this, but the men and women have adjusted to it.
I mean, all the parties, the Port of LA, the mayor of LA, Governor Newsom, everybody's been extremely supportive.
The ILWU, Class A, Class B, Casual Workforce, Marine Clerks, Local 63, and Foreman, Local 94, are a resilient workforce. We continue to work through the pandemic, break records. We continue to work through congestion, break records, and whatever else comes.
I mean, you walk with your head up high knowing what the men and women of the ILW have done during the pandemic to stay on the job and do the work that they've done.
We often use the phrase labor to describe a specific link in our supply chain. I want to thank our local presidents for humanizing that term, sharing with us the impact COVID-19 has had on these critical workers, and talking about how this pandemic has brought us closer together in so many ways. For the Port of Los Angeles, 2021 was a year of unprecedented engagement. A year when all of America saw firsthand just how important the global supply chain is to their lives. Our port is the confluence of the largest trade corridor between the U.S. and China. We are the largest gateway of containerized trade in the Western Hemisphere. That's why we have an outsized responsibility to engage stakeholders locally, globally, and everywhere in between. It's true in any year, but in 2021, we went into overdrive. The year-long images of dozens of ships anchored off our shorelines, helicopters circling the bay, and containers stacked 6 high in our terminals became a fixture in the media's coverage of the distressed global supply chain. The spotlight on us was constant and bright, but it can never be too bright for us, because it drew the attention of the private sector and elected officials across Southern California to Sacramento to our nation's capital in Washington. We established a strong relationship with the Biden-Harris administration, with whom we have spent considerable time analyzing the issues and discussing strategies to speed the flow of cargo while supporting America's economy. This work culminated in a visit to the White House for a supply chain stakeholder meeting with Vice President Harris, U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, Director of the National Economic Council Brian Deese, and other administration officials. Then on to the Roosevelt Room to meet the President and his top advisors. Next, we went into the Oval Office with the President before a press conference in the East Room, where he announced actions we would be taking up to address the nation's supply chain challenges. Since mid-October, White House Port Envoy John Picari has convened action meetings 3 times a week to identify operational issues and develop near-term solutions. And just last week, Secretary Buttigieg was joined by State Transportation Secretary David Kim and the governor's top business advisor, Dee Dee Myers, to discuss long-term investment right here at our port. The Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act contains $17 billion for ports and inland waterways. Earlier this month, California Governor Gavin Newsom designated $2.3 billion to ports in the state budget. This level of funding commitment represents a monumental opportunity for ports. Beyond freight system improvements, it funds much-needed digital and cybersecurity infrastructure. It supports our creation of a future-ready goods movement workforce. And it aligns with our mission to lead the nation in the development of zero-emissions port drayage. This is also an opportunity to correct a historic funding imbalance. Over the past decade, East and Gulf Coast ports have received 11 times more federal investment than us on the West Coast. That must change with these new sources of funding. Last year, we accelerated our $2.6 billion capital plan. And as a landlord port with finite space, this surge of imports has especially underscored our need to be able to flex and scale the use of our properties. In times like this, it means having more swing space to ease terminal congestion. We owe a debt of gratitude to all the elected leaders and officials who traveled here over the past year to engage with us, discuss specific operational challenges, and offer their support. We believe that their understanding of the daily pain points our industry has experienced over the past 18 months will go a long way toward modernizing our supply chain, making it more efficient and globally competitive. In 2021, we engaged with more industries than ever before: exporters, manufacturers, retailers, and countless others with skin in the game. We wanted everyone to understand what's really going on and how we could help each other, because we're all in this together. With support from the administration, we launched Accelerate Cargo LA, a pilot program with a handful of our nation's most prominent cargo owners and freight service providers. This early collaboration was a small start, designed to move us closer to a push system. It let us coordinate with these major companies and their logistics partners to move their high volume of boxes out of the terminals and into the marketplace. In the fourth quarter, the growing number of import containers not being picked up on our terminals led us to announce our intention to adopt and implement an excess dwell fee for loaded boxes sitting 9 days or more. Merely announcing the fee reduced the number of those idling containers by more than 60%. The results have been phenomenal, and I'm happy to say we have not implemented the fee. Because we're now seeing a buildup of empty export containers in our terminals, we're discussing a similar fee with our board and an incentive that encourages the repositioning of outbound empties in support of U.S. exporters. We call on the ocean carriers to be responsive and evacuate these boxes from our facilities so that we never have to collect a dime. Bringing industry stakeholders together in the spirit of collaboration creates the best solutions and the best outcomes. Whether it's a safer and more adaptive ship queuing system, a carrier's incentive to expedite the pickup of import boxes at terminals, or better scheduling scheme for drayage trucks, in times like this, every solution is worth consideration. That's why in 2022, we will continue to engage, build on, and expand our stakeholder relationships so that we can continue to drive our shared goals. Last September, we welcomed our cruise business back after an 18-month pause due to the pandemic. 10 unique cruise brands operate out of our port, anchored by Princess Cruises, Norwegian Cruise Line, and the return of Royal Caribbean after a decade-long absence. More than 200 sailings are on our schedule for 2022, the most we've had since the year 2008. That's great news for our economy, because every ship call generates roughly $1 million in local payroll and business activity. While no other segment of the travel industry has guest health requirements and operational protocols as stringent as the cruise sector, they continue to face the headwinds of this pandemic. We stand with them because when those ships sail down our main channel, they are another symbol of our resilience in living with COVID-19. While the consumer spending driving this historical import surge has been good for many economic sectors, it has had some negative impacts on our neighboring communities. Container traffic has been illegally moving through residential areas. Trucks have been idling on neighborhood streets, blocking thoroughfares, and impacting air quality. No one wanted any of that. So it's been a welcome relief to see so many local agencies pull together to correct the issues. Under the leadership of Councilman Buscaino and Harbor Commissioner Lucia Moreno-Linares, a truck and container task force was created last October. This joint effort brought together the City of Los Angeles Department of Transportation, Building and Safety, and the Bureau of Street Services. The California Highway Patrol, Los Angeles Police Department, and our own port police units have conducted early morning sweeps to catch truckers illegally idling or blocking driveways. All of these agencies are scanning the landscape for unpermitted activity while enforcing local laws and ordinances. And our Wilmington community advocate, Cecilia Moreno, is working with the local neighborhood council to let residents know who they can call to report violations. There have also been other supportive community measures, because while we're dealing with the impacts of heavy cargo volume, we were also dealing with year 2 of the pandemic. So together with the PMA, ILWU, LA County Federation of Labor, the Los Angeles Fire Department, and other partners, we provided more than 5,000 vaccines free of charge to keep our neighbors and their families safe. Not all vaccinations have been land-based. Over the past year, the International Seafarers Center, working with the Long Beach Health Department, has led an effort to vaccinate more than 10,000 ship crew members, with health workers often boarding vessels in port to vaccinate seafarers from around the world. These efforts show what a truly engaged community can do, and we will continue because this fight is not over. Innovation often comes out of crisis, and in 2021, we needed innovative solutions to the obstacles we were facing. That meant accurate and up-to-the-minute data to increase efficiency and speed the flow of cargo. For the past 7 years, The Port of Los Angeles has led the conversation on digitizing our nation's supply chain and delivering digital solutions to port users right here in the San Pedro Bay. In 2021, we launched our Control Tower suite of data tools, expanding the Port Optimizer system, which we developed with Wabtec. Control Tower delivers precise shipping intelligence and real-time insight into the operational conditions. This information lets cargo owners and service providers manage their shipments into the marketplace and free up terminal space. It's a cutting-edge tool that helps major shippers prioritize seasonal cargo ahead of less time-sensitive goods. Our digital initiatives are a good start because America is years behind other countries in this area. But we need more. It doesn't work for just one port in the U.S. to have a port community system. To unlock the power of digitization, all major U.S. ports must be connected and interoperable. We have that in our nation's electrical grid, our weather forecasting system, and in our global air traffic control system. And now we must have it in our national port and logistics network in order to identify and address supply chain issues as they happen. With that goal in mind, this year we will continue to add valuable data insights to the Port Optimizer. We're also working with the administration to support a national port data initiative that will help keep our supply chain moving. Data can help us untangle the complexity of the global supply chain. Shared data makes us all more competitive, and we owe it to our nation to make that happen. Now more than ever, we need to protect our digital systems from cyber attack. To that end, I'm pleased to announce today that the Cyber Resilience Center we co-developed with IBM is now operational. We all know what can happen when those systems are compromised. The CRC Hub lets users analyze and share cyber threat indicators and defense measures to protect the systems we all rely on. Data isn't the only thing we need to protect through innovation. We also need to protect our environment. For the past 2 decades, reducing port environmental impacts has been a major focus here in San Pedro Bay. In 2022, we will continue that focus. While the surge in port traffic challenge our local environmental efforts, it has also expanded public awareness of the environmental impact of seaborne trade. The business community is making the connection. Major retailers want to lower their carbon footprint. Ocean carriers are pursuing LNG and other alternative fuels. Ports are making great strides. With this growing movement, 2022 will be the year a Green Ports Corridor is announced between the Port of Los Angeles and at least one major gateway in Asia. Closer to home, we're now testing 107 zero-emission and 27 near-zero emission units in the areas of cargo handling, drayage, harbor craft, and ocean-going vessel operations. With more in the pipeline, that number will exceed 200 units over the next 18 months. In 2022, more than a half dozen manufacturers, including major global brands, will deploy next-generation drayage trucks in and around our port complex. This is not lip service. The industry investment in our zero emissions initiatives is significant and growing. Our multi-year shore-to-store initiative with Toyota and more than a dozen partners is a great example. The $82 million demonstration project is half funded by a California Climate Investments grant. We are now operating 10 hydrogen fuel cell electric Class 8 drayage trucks regionally, 2 hydrogen fueling stations, and 2 pair of zero-emissions terminal yard tractors and forklifts. A major milestone coming this April will be the Clean Truck Fund Rate, which is expected to raise $130 million over the next 3 years. Our port has designated that money entirely to zero-emissions trucks and fueling infrastructure. These are just a few of our current initiatives, and I'm proud to say that no other port community in the United States is testing and investing in these next-generation technologies more than ours. In the past 18 months, we moved more cargo than ever before. Now, as we launch into this new year, we are challenged to take that achievement to a new level. We will rise to whatever challenges 2022 brings by focusing on what matters most: people. American workers need a break. They need better paying, more secure jobs, pathways to professions and careers doing meaningful work we can all be proud of. We need to support our longshore workers. Last year, the ILWU fortified and expanded its workforce. And this year, we are helping the ILWU and PMA train and upskill those men and women. We also need to support our truck drivers. Each year, we see America's truck driver population decline, and that's contributing to our nation's supply chain issues. We need to redesign a system that benefits more drayage drivers, reduces their frustrations, and gives them more productive turns. Drayage trucking can be a great profession. Let's help make that happen. We need to support our warehouse workers. A warehouse used to be the kind of place where you could start as a box person, work your way up to manager, and one day end up running the facility. We need to build back to that and show young workers that there's a great career path for them in the warehousing industry. So here's our call to action. Let's build a dynamic, thriving port community filled with career opportunities for young people. And let's engage them through outstanding high school programs like EXP. Let's engage them through community college curricula that's focused on the future needs of our industry. Let's engage them through all channels so we can build a future-ready workforce that is agile, tech-savvy, and proud of what they do. I believe we have a responsibility to provide fair and equitable opportunity for everyone. We cannot leave parts of our population behind. That's why I'm excited to announce that this year, we will break ground on our Goods Movement Training Campus. We are making the upfront investments to accelerate this important initiative. And today, I want to thank Governor Newsom for committing $110 million to the Goods Movement Training Campus over the next 3 years. The first time in the history of the United States that we have seen this level of investment in port career development. The Goods Movement Training Campus will be a critical initiative for California. And if you want to be a part of it, please come join us. The future depends on the choices we make today. These are difficult times. All around us, we see the toll these past 2 years have taken on all of us. Still, we must deliver on our purpose. Great change is always preceded by great challenge. But that transformation is not automatic. We have to take action. That's why this is our defining moment. In 2022, we could choose to keep our heads down and just focus on managing our supply chain issues. Or we could choose to think bigger, to reach beyond today and beyond ourselves, to imagine the kind of port that the future needs. A port where education and employment give everyone an equal shot at the American dream. A port that is sustainable and environmentally responsible. A port that drives a robust, equitable, and healthy economy. We are at the center of this vision. We are the ones who can create that future. All we have to do right now is decide that we will. We know the responsibilities are large. We know the task is great. But the stakes of not acting decisively in this moment are even greater. We have an obligation to those who came before us and to those who will come after. We owe them this moment. Let us rise to this vision of the future and decide that we will be the ones who make it happen. Thank you for your partnership and for all of your goodwill. It's an honor to work with you.
Thank you, Gene, for a terrific 2022 State of the Port Address and a wonderful tribute to the longshore workforce. In closing, I would like to acknowledge the key people that made this event possible. A big thank you to Princess Cruises and all of our sponsors. Thank you to the members of the Board of Harbor Commissioners for their support. My heartfelt thanks to Jessica Alvarenga, PMSA's Manager of Government Affairs, for her hard work. And a special thank you to all of the Port of LA team members who once again spearheaded this annual virtual production, especially the amazingly talented Port Communications Group. Most importantly, thank you all for joining us. Have a great year, be safe, and stay healthy.